It is a sad morning. We've talked a lot about how the upcoming midterm election is really, it's not a contract with America election that's coming up. It's a contrast for America. That's a good way to summarize it. And it is a contrast between common sense and crazy. The Democrats, this is not your father's grandfather's Democrat Party. They have crazy policies, and now they have deadly, very tragic consequences. And you heard this common theme this morning. We're talking about the latest victim.
Speaker Johnson turned against Trump in a dramatic vote. That claim is false. The reality is far less explosive. Headlines have distorted what actually happened, and the narrative of a political earthquake does not match the facts. The real story is more complex and less sensational. Can you imagine the audacity? The Speaker of the House, the second most powerful position in the federal government, publicly stabbing his own party leader in the back. That is what these viral clips are screaming at us. They paint a picture of chaos, of a leadership structure crumbling from within, of a president who has lost control of the very chamber that is supposed to be his strongest ally. The videos are slick, the narration is urgent, and the message is crystal clear. Mike Johnson has betrayed Trump.
Sheridan Gorman was a beautiful 18-year-old freshman, as has been noted, at Loyola University, enjoying time with her friends out on the pier, looking at the Northern Lights, and now her family is mourning her tragic and totally unnecessary loss. It was a life tragically cut short. The masked assailant approached Sheridan while she was walking with her friends, and she ran away, and as you know, shot her from the back, in the back. The monster who did this, Jose Medina, was an illegal alien with a criminal record. Why is that so relevant to us?
It sounds like the kind of explosive political drama that defines eras, the kind of betrayal that goes down in history books. People are sharing it, commenting on it, and reacting with outrage and shock. The narrative is spreading like wildfire, and it all seems so convincing, so real. But what if everything you are hearing is a complete and utter fabrication? What if the entire premise of these viral sensations is built on a foundation of lies, distortions, and a fundamental misunderstanding of how the United States Congress actually functions? It is a question that demands our attention, especially in an age where misinformation can travel faster than the truth and where a simple video clip can rewrite history in the minds of millions. The story of Johnson's alleged betrayal is captivating.
Because it's Democrat policies that made this tragedy possible. He had no legal right to be in this country. And we know that Medina entered the United States illegally on May 9th, 2023. That's under the Biden administration with their wide open borders policy. We also know he was caught by Border Patrol and let into the country, released into the country, like millions of others. And thanks to the Democrats' open border policy, those are indisputable facts. But for that crazy set of policies, this young lady would still be alive.
But it is also a textbook example of how false narratives are constructed and weaponized in the digital age. We need to peel back the layers, look beyond the sensational headlines, and examine the cold, hard facts of what actually transpired on the House floor. Let us rewind the clock and go back to the precise moment that sparked this entire firestorm. The United States House of Representatives was conducting a vote on a highly contentious piece of legislation, a war powers resolution concerning Iran. This was not some minor procedural motion. This was a significant piece of legislation that touched upon the fundamental constitutional balance of power between the executive and legislative branches. Democrats had introduced the resolution.
Weeks later, Medina was arrested in a major American city after they let him in, again, only to be released onto the streets of Chicago. Why? Because of crazy Democrat policies. He would later take the life of Sheridan Gorman. The irony of all this is that the system did not fail Sheridan. That worked exactly as the Democrats intended. You had Democrats in charge of the White House and in charge in the city of Chicago. Open borders policies, sanctuary cities policies. They coddled the criminal illegal alien. They empowered, they allowed this to happen, and that's why we're so angry about it.
Arguing that President Trump's ongoing military actions against Iran required explicit congressional authorization, Democrats invoked the War Powers Act, a law designed to ensure that the president cannot unilaterally engage in prolonged military conflicts without the consent of the people's representatives in Congress. It was a classic constitutional showdown, the kind of debate that the Founding Fathers envisioned when they crafted the delicate balance of power that defines our republic. The resolution was a direct challenge to the president's authority. It asserted that Congress and Congress alone has the power to declare war and authorize sustained military operations.
He was in the custody of law enforcement twice. And there were two chances to stop Sheridan's killing. But Democrats' open borders guaranteed their release, and their soft on crime sanctuary policies ensured his impunity, and that's why this happened. And Sheridan Gorman should still be with us, and her entire life still ahead of her. But it's the same fate that befell Laken Riley, too, and so many others. How many more times does this story have to be repeated? Everybody needs to be asking that question. Unfortunately, the Democrats' agenda was going to continue to come at the expense of American citizens, innocent American people.
The Democrats argued that Trump's military campaign in the Middle East, while possibly justified, had exceeded the constitutional limits of executive power. They insisted that the president needed to come to Congress, make his case, and receive formal approval before continuing. This is the very essence of the checks and balances system that prevents any one branch of government from becoming too powerful. The Republicans, on the other hand, largely rallied behind President Trump. They argued that as commander-in-chief, the president possesses inherent authority to conduct military operations and respond to threats without being bogged down by congressional bureaucracy.
As long as the Democrats insist on shielding dangerous criminals from our laws, and that's exactly what we're seeing. Now, it's been noted we're 40 days into this shutdown. It's the second longest in history. It's partial, but it's a big one, because they shut down the third largest department of the federal government. It has 10 agencies underneath it, 260,000 plus employees. And each of those agencies have one common denominator. As the name implies, they are to keep the homeland secure.
They saw the resolution as an unnecessary and dangerous restriction on the president's ability to protect the nation. The vote was tense, the chamber was packed, and the stakes were incredibly high. When the final tally was announced, the results sent a tremor through the political establishment. The resolution passed with a final count of 215 to 208. A majority of the House had sided with the Democrats, voting to assert congressional authority over the president's military actions. On the surface, this appears to be a significant defeat for the Trump administration, a repudiation of his foreign policy approach by the legislative branch. But the real story, the one that the viral videos have completely twisted and distorted, lies not in the final vote count, but in the specific identities of the individuals who cast those votes. This is where the fabrication begins. This is where the truth becomes a casualty of the relentless pursuit of clicks, views, and engagement. The viral videos, in their desperate attempt to create a sensational narrative, took a crucial step that crosses the line from biased reporting to outright deception. They focused on the fact that the resolution passed and that some Republicans had broken ranks to support it. But instead of accurately reporting which Republicans defected, they made a fatal error, either through ignorance or deliberate maliciousness. They claimed that the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, was among those who voted against the president. They alleged that Johnson had personally cast a vote to curtail Trump's military powers, a stunning act of betrayal that would have been the political equivalent of a knife in the back. The claim is shocking because it is designed to be shocking. A speaker betraying a president from his own party is the stuff of political legend. It is the kind of event that dominates news cycles for weeks, destroys careers, and reshapes party dynamics. It is the ultimate betrayal of trust and loyalty. The videos ran with it, using dramatic music, urgent narration, and carefully chosen clips to make the story as explosive as possible. They painted a picture of a Republican Party in disarray, with its most powerful figure in the House turning against its de facto leader. It is a narrative perfectly calibrated to generate outrage, fear, and a sense of impending doom among Trump supporters, while simultaneously delighting his opponents. It has all the ingredients of a viral hit: drama, conflict, and a powerful figure brought low. But here's the thing about that narrative. It is built on a lie, a colossal, easily verifiable, and completely unnecessary lie. The truth is far less dramatic, far more mundane, and far more indicative of how the legislative process actually works. It is a truth that reveals the viral videos not as legitimate news sources, but as merchants of misinformation, peddling falsehoods for profit and influence. Let us set the record straight on exactly who did what. When the roll was called for the Iran War Powers Resolution, 4 Republican representatives stepped forward and voted with the Democrats. Their names are Tom Barrett, Brian Fitzpatrick, Warren Davidson, and Thomas Massie. These were the individuals who broke from the Republican leadership's position and supported the resolution to limit the president's military authority. They had their reasons, likely rooted in constitutional principles, concerns about executive overreach, or perhaps the specific sentiments of the districts they represent. They made a choice, a legitimate political choice, and voted their conscience on a matter of grave national importance. This is the kind of thing that happens in Congress all the time. Individual members of a party will occasionally break with the leadership on specific issues, especially ones as weighty as the authorization of military force. The number 4 is critical here. 4 House Republicans broke ranks. 4 individual members voted their conscience. 4 men decided to side with the Democrats on this specific piece of legislation. Nowhere in that list of names does the name Mike Johnson appear. The Speaker of the House, the man accused of betrayal by every viral video and sensational headline, was not one of those 4 Republicans. He did not cast a vote on the resolution at all. His name is not on the voting record supporting the measure. He is simply not part of the equation when it comes to the members who defected. This is the fundamental fact that the viral videos either missed entirely or deliberately chose to ignore. They attributed a vote to Johnson that Johnson did not cast. This brings us to a crucial distinction that is often lost in the chaos of modern political coverage: the difference between the Speaker of the House and a regular voting member of Congress. It is a distinction that seems obvious, but is frequently misunderstood or deliberately misrepresented. The Speaker is not just another member of the House. They are the presiding officer, the chief administrator, and the leader of the majority party. Their responsibilities extend far beyond simply casting votes on legislation. The Speaker is responsible for managing the entire legislative process. They decide which bills come to the floor, when they are debated, and how they are voted on. They work behind the scenes to build consensus, wrangle votes, and ensure the party's agenda moves forward. It is an incredibly demanding role, one that requires a delicate touch, strategic thinking, and a broad perspective on the entire legislative landscape. Because of these vast administrative responsibilities, it is a long-standing tradition and common practice for the Speaker to abstain from voting on certain pieces of legislation. Sometimes they vote and sometimes they do not. When they do abstain, it is often to maintain a degree of neutrality in their role as the impartial manager of the chamber, or simply because their focus needs to be on the larger picture of governance rather than on every single individual vote. The Speaker's power is not derived from their personal vote, but from their ability to control the flow of legislation and guide their party's agenda through the House. So when the viral videos claim that Johnson voted against Trump, they were not only wrong about the vote itself, but also fundamentally misrepresented the nature of the Speaker's job. They applied the rules of a regular member to a figure whose role is entirely different. By not voting on the resolution, Johnson was performing his role as Speaker in a completely normal and expected way. He was managing the floor, overseeing the legislative process, and ensuring that the vote was conducted fairly and according to the rules. His focus was on the procedural integrity of the House, not on the specific outcome of that particular vote. This is a critical point that completely dismantles the narrative of betrayal. How can you betray someone when you did not actually do the thing you are being accused of? How can you stab someone in the back when you were not even holding a knife? The accusation falls apart the moment you examine the actual voting record and understand the Speaker's unique role. Now let us examine Johnson's actual record of supporting Donald Trump's agenda. If there were any doubt about where his loyalties lie, a quick look at his legislative actions would dispel it completely. Just a short time before the Iran vote, Johnson led the House in passing a massive $95 billion budget package. This was not just any budget, it was a comprehensive package that included key items from Trump's policy wish list. It included funding for Trump's military operations against Iran, the very operations that the Democrats were trying to curtail with the War Powers Resolution. It included Trump's voter ID legislation and proof of citizenship requirements, a cornerstone of the administration's efforts to reform election integrity. It was a budget explicitly designed to advance the president's priorities, and Johnson was the chief architect behind its passage. He twisted arms, made deals, and used all the power at his disposal to get it through the House. That is not the action of a man betraying the president. That is the action of a man working tirelessly to advance the president's agenda. Johnson's support for Trump extends beyond just the budget. He has consistently used his position to defend the administration's policies in the public eye and to keep the House majority focused on the issues that Trump cares about most. He has been a vocal advocate for the administration's trade policies, its approach to immigration, and its judicial appointments. He has gone on the record multiple times to express his support for Trump and to dismiss any rumors of a rift between them. This is a pattern of behavior, a consistent track record of loyalty and support. The viral videos, however, want you to focus on one isolated event, a vote that Johnson was not even a part of, to paint a picture of a fractured relationship. It is a classic case of cherry-picking data to fit a predetermined sensational narrative. And what does Donald Trump himself have to say about all of this? He has been asked about his relationship with Johnson, and his answers have been nothing but supportive. He has publicly expressed his confidence in Johnson, stating that he will support the speaker even if Republicans lose the House in the upcoming midterm elections. He has dismissed any talk of a threat to Johnson's position, saying he believes there is no serious challenge to his leadership. Trump has not criticized Johnson, he has not called him out, and he has not suggested that he feels betrayed. Instead, he has backed Johnson unequivocally, standing behind his speaker and affirming their partnership. This is a crucial piece of evidence that completely contradicts the viral narrative. If Johnson had truly betrayed Trump, would Trump be singing his praises? Would he be publicly expressing his unwavering support? Of course not. The relationship between Trump and Johnson, as described by both parties, is one of mutual respect and shared goals. The viral videos are simply ignoring this reality to push their own false narrative. The disconnect between the viral videos and the reality of the Johnson-Trump relationship is a stark example of the misinformation that has become so pervasive in our media landscape. The videos are not just mistaken. They are actively misleading people, using false claims to generate outrage and views. They take a complex legislative reality, a story about four individual Republicans breaking ranks, and they twist it into a simple, emotionally charged story about betrayal by a powerful leader. It is a narrative that is far more exciting than the truth, far more likely to get shared, and far more damaging to the public's understanding of government. This is how false narratives take hold, and it is why we all need to be more critical consumers of information, especially when that information comes in the form of a slickly produced video with a sensational title. Think about the mechanics of how this falsehood spread. A real vote happened. Some Republicans voted against Trump. The vote passed. That is all true. But then someone, perhaps a content creator looking for a quick viral hit, decided to attribute that vote to the wrong person. They saw an opportunity to create a much bigger story, a story about the speaker betraying the president, and they ran with it. They did not check the facts. They did not understand the speaker's role. They just saw a way to generate a ton of engagement, and they took it. Then other creators, seeing the success of the first video, repeated the claim. They amplified the falsehood. Soon it was everywhere, repeated so often and so confidently that it began to seem like the truth. This is the viral media ecosystem in action, and it is a system that rewards sensationalism over accuracy, drama over truth, and emotion over reason. The financial incentives at play here are critical to understanding why this happens. Viral videos generate money through views, likes, shares, and comments. The more dramatic and outrageous the claim, the more engagement it generates. A story about Johnson loyally supporting Trump, that is boring. Nobody shares that. A story about Johnson stabbing Trump in the back, that is explosive. That is drama. That is engagement. That is money. So content creators have a direct financial incentive to make their stories as dramatic as possible, even if it means stretching the truth or outright lying. They are not operating as journalists. They are operating as entertainers, and their goal is not to inform, but to captivate. This is the dark underbelly of the viral video economy, and it is a major driver of the misinformation that plagues our political discourse. The real tragedy here is the damage this does to the public's trust in government and its understanding of the political process. When millions of people are exposed to a false narrative about a leader betraying his president, it breeds cynicism. It makes people feel like the entire system is corrupt and dysfunctional, full of backstabbing and treachery. It erodes the trust that is so essential for a healthy democracy, and it obscures the real, more nuanced story about how Congress actually works. The real story is that there are disagreements even within political parties. There are members who vote their conscience based on their deeply held beliefs. There is a leadership that works to advance its agenda, sometimes successfully, sometimes not. These are the workings of a normal, functioning, and vibrant democracy. But the viral videos present a distorted, chaotic, and dysfunctional picture, one that serves their own interests but harms the public. Understanding the facts of the situation protects you from being manipulated. By knowing that Johnson did not vote on the resolution, that the defectors were Barrett, Fitzpatrick, Davidson, and Massey, and that Johnson has been consistently advancing Trump's agenda, you can see through the false claims. You can recognize the video for what it is, a piece of misinformation designed to trigger an emotional reaction. You can share the correct information with your friends and family, helping to stop the spread of the falsehood. And you can become a more discerning consumer of news in general, better equipped to separate fact from fiction in a media landscape full of traps. This is the ultimate lesson from the saga of Johnson's alleged betrayal. It is a lesson about media literacy, about the importance of checking sources, and about the need to understand the basic mechanics of our government. So the next time you see a viral video making a shocking claim about a political betrayal, remember this story. Remember how a sensational narrative was built on a foundation of lies and misunderstandings. Ask yourself who actually voted, who is the video accusing, did that person actually do what the video is claiming, is the video accurately representing the institutional role of the person they are accusing. By asking these questions, you take the power back from the purveyors of misinformation. You become an informed citizen, not a passive consumer of propaganda. The relationship between Mike Johnson and Donald Trump is not one of betrayal and conflict. It is a relationship of support and shared purpose, even as individual members of their party exercise their right to disagree on specific issues. That is the truth, and it is a truth that should give us confidence in the resilience of our institutions, even in the face of viral falsehoods. The narrative of Johnson's betrayal was a fiction, a phantom created by the need for digital drama. But the reality of Johnson's loyalty and Trump's support is a testament to the fact that not everything you see on the internet is as it seems. By looking past the headlines and into the substance, we can all gain a clearer picture of what actually happens in the halls of power. This story serves as a powerful reminder that in the age of information, the most dangerous enemy is often not a foreign power or a political opponent, but our own willingness to believe the most dramatic, least substantiated version of events. The truth is out there, but we have to be willing to look for it and to think critically about everything we see and hear. The claim that Mike Johnson betrayed Trump is a spectacular falsehood, and now you know the whole story.